Sia is out. Peter Steff is out. Kurtley Arendse is also out. Dr. Rassie Erasmus has made 10 changes from the team that lost to Australia at Ellis Park for this second Rugby Championship Test match in Cape Town. Now, I think we all anticipated that there was going to be a reaction in terms of the team selection. Don't forget, we were 22-0 ahead after 20 minutes at Ellis Park, only to lose 38-22 to the Wallabies. And it was a performance which many of us, including Doc, described as embarrassing. Let's have a look at the team that will do duty at the Cape Town Stadium. We'll start in the front row, and it's going to be Oxen Chair, Malcolm Marx and Thomas du Toit in the front row. So Thomas comes in for Wilco Louw. I must admit that is a little bit of a surprise to me, but you'll see in a moment Wilco actually drops to the replacements bench, so he'll be part of the bomb squad. Ergier Snyman comes in for Eben Etzebeth, and we've got Ruan Nortje alongside him. I actually am quite excited about that as a lock pairing. I like the two of them. Nothing against what we had last week with Eben and Loert de Jager, but I am a fan of Ergier, and I really do like Ruan Nortje, even though I accept that Nortje isn't really a first choice guy, but he's probably the guy that comes in when someone is injured or out of form. So we've got Snyman and Nortje, and then, as mentioned, Captain Sio Khaleesi, well, he's injured, so is Peter Steff du Toit. So a little bit of a shuffle in the back row. And what we have is Marco van Staden, so he retains his place from last week. Franco Mostert comes into the side at 7. I must admit, part of me wondered if Vincent Chituka might not get a shot. And then we're going to have Jean-Luc Duprier doing duty at 8th man. That's the forwards. Let's move on to the back line now. Grant Williams is still in the number 9 jersey. Handré Pollard comes in at fly half. Honestly, that is not a surprise at all. Nothing against Manie Lebok. I just thought, given the stakes and that this is effectively a must-win match, it makes all the sense in the world that Doc turns to Pollard. On the wings, we've got Cheslin Colby. He's back in the fray. Remember, he was injured and hasn't featured all that much so far in 2025. So he comes in on the left wing for Kurtley Arendse, and then Kanan Moody comes in on the right wing. In the centres, we've got Damien Dialende. Nice to see DDA back, and then Jesse Creel will captain the side at outside centre. And then Willie Leroux, the old warhorse, comes into the side for Apelele Fassi at fullback. Okay, let's have a look at the bomb squad now. It's a 6-2 split. No surprises at all there, in my opinion. I'm not surprised at all. In fact, the only surprise, frankly, is that it's not 7-1. But nevertheless, 6-2 it is. Magnus van der Merwe, Boan Venter, and Wilco Louw. There's your brand new front row. I suspect they will come on around the 45th minute. Eben Etzebeth, Loert de Jager, and Kwagga Smith will be the other 3 forwards on that bench. And then we've got Kobus Reinach and Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu completing the bench. All right, guys, unsurprising that Rassie Erasmus has rung the changes for this test match. And I want to begin by looking at the forwards and just scrutinizing a little bit there. Let's be honest, up front, things were not good at all in Johannesburg. In terms of the scrums, okay, I get that it's a little bit difficult because you can't force a scrum, right? So, for example, if your opponent knocks it on, you get a scrum. But if there's an infringement at the breakdown, it's usually a free kick or a penalty. So I can't really force you to knock it on, and that, unsurprisingly, is maybe one of the reasons why we only had 3 scrums in that test match in Joburg. And let's also be honest here, the Wallabies like it that way. They don't want to scrum against us. By the way, they too have got injury problems. James Slipper and their captain, Harry Wilson, are both out. Ben Donaldson is also out of the picture. And then in the back line, their left wing, Dylan Peach, is also out of action. So they're going to have to make do without those players. I have heard that Wilson may actually be fit enough to play on Saturday, but at the same time, the feeling seems to be that they don't want to risk him. So it'll be interesting to see what the Wallabies do there. The lineouts, from a Springbok point of view, it was shocking. Let's call a spade. Something that I'm very worried about is the lineout throw-in inaccuracy, not just from Malcolm Marx, but also Bongi Mbonambi, both of them. Their lineout throw-in accuracy has been shoddy, to be quite frank. Now, I think Malcolm kind of gets away with it purely because his overall or general gameplay has still been very, very good. And as much as I love Bongi, don't forget he learned how to play his rugby at the Stormers, the reality is that age is going to catch up to all of us, and Bongi seems to be one of those players who now falls into this category. There's one or two others. One or two of those are actually in this matchday squad, and I want to see something from them. I have no doubt that we are going to see a reaction from the Springboks this week. Last week was unacceptable, and this week I believe that the players would have received not only a good talking to from Doc, but he would have cracked the whip as well. Let's again just talk about the breakdown. We were taken to school there, and it's been a problem now for a while for the Springboks. And if I'm honest, in this second Rassie Erasmus era, and I don't count the 2019 to 23 era because that was Jock Nienaber as the head coach, and I want to respect Jock because that was his time as head coach. I know Rassie was still involved, heavily involved, but Jock Nienaber was the head coach. And the 19, or at least the 20 to 23, I suppose given COVID, you'd say 21 to 23 period, that record belongs to Jock Nienaber. So in this second Rassie Erasmus era, I think we have not been great at the breakdown. I don't think we've been great in the lineouts. And I think that those two areas require some serious improvements. And hopefully we're going to see a strong reaction from the world champions in Cape Town. Let's again just quickly look at those forwards. One at a time. Ox, Malcolm and Thomas the Tank in the front row. I think that that's a very strong front row. Personally, I think Wilco Low is our best tight head, but I also like the idea of him, Boan Venter and Marnus van der Merwe coming on in the second half to make an impact. I've mentioned before, Erge and Ruan, I like the look of that. It also means that Eben gets a little bit of a rest. And don't forget, Luert has missed so much through injury, you probably don't want to overextend him either. So I've got no complaints there. Marco van Staden, he seems to be Rassie's first choice at open side if Sia is not around. So if Sia is going to be injured, van Staden is going to be the guy, right? Franco Mostert, I wouldn't say that I'm shocked that he's come in at blindside, but as I said, I thought that someone like Chituka might get a go, but okay, fine, whatever. And then Jean-Luc Dupree, I suspect he's being picked there because of his ability to make big carries and gain meters for us. So I suppose that's what he's doing there. And then if you look at the bomb squad, we've mentioned the front row, Eben and Luert will come on. My suspicion is that that's basically a brand new tight five that's coming on. So Marco van Staden and Franco Mostert will almost certainly play the whole match. Or Jean-Luc Dupree comes off for Kwagga Smith, who might go to 6. I must be honest, I think that Kwagga is much more effective at 6 than he is at 8. And I mentioned a second ago players who are maybe getting on a little bit in years. And I'll tell you what, I love Kwagga Smith in my opinion. He's the best player in the world coming off the bench to make a difference. But at the same time, I have to be honest, I feel like it's been a while now since we saw him come onto the field and make a genuine impact. So I want to see something there from him as well. I'm not yet ready to discard him. I think he's wonderful. I'm still a big fan, but I want to see something from him. If we look at the back line, Grant Williams is our best scrum half, in my opinion. I'm not surprised at all that he's continuing. I actually thought that he was one of the players at Ellis Park that had a better game than some of his teammates. Mentioned earlier, unsurprisingly, that Pollard has come back in for Marnie. I don't think Marnie had his best test match in Joburg. And again, this is a must-win match. We're not necessarily taking chances. So Pollard is clearly the safety first guy there. At the same time, I might throw in there that Williams and Pollard as a combination might actually give you the best of both worlds, in that you've got the attacking and the flair that Williams brings, and then you've got, let's call it the common sense and the steadiness that Pollard brings to the field. So that might actually be a really, really good combination for us. And the way I see it is Sasha Feinberg and Gomezulu gradually comes into the picture, and he is the long-term successor to Pollard, in my view. On the wings, Moody has come in for Edwil van der Merwe and Cheslin has come in for Kurtley Arendse. Obviously, in an ideal environment, I still think Kurtley is your 11 and Cheslin is your 14. Damien Dialende, great to see him back. Jesse Creel, you know what? I heard people criticizing Jesse last week in the Ellis Park test match, and I'll tell you what, he didn't have a great test, but I'll tell you this, it's probably the first time in 2 years that Jesse has had a bad game, so I will be stingy with my criticism of our captain for this test match. By the way, you might be wondering who's the vice captain. It's actually Oxen Chair, so he'll be the vice captain to Jesse, and then Willie Leroux, the old warhorse, coming in at fullback. And then as we just move to that bomb squad again, Kobus Reinach is obviously going to come on at some point for Grant. I think that Reinach and Pollard, that's not a bad combo, but it might even end up being a Reinach and a Feinberg and Ngomezulu combo. All right, guys, the reality is that in spite of what happened at Ellis Park, I think that a lot of those things can be fixed. We know that they were throwing the ball all over the place and it looked like touch rugby at times. Our attack coach, Tony Brown, even said to Rassie in the coach's box that the players are overdoing it. So I suspect we're going to see a bit more common sense this week. I don't think we're going to relent when it comes to attacking, but I think, or at least I hope, that we will choose our moments a little bit better. And I do think that we'll win, but I'm going to spare you those thoughts for my big preview video that will come out probably on Friday. In the meantime, why don't you let me know in the comment section down below what you think? Are you happy with this team? Is this the squad that you thought more or less would end up doing duty for this Wallabies test match? Or do you think Rassie has made more mistakes and we are in the midst of a ticking time bomb? I look forward to reading what you have to say. And while you're down there, why not help me out with a super thanks? That's the heart button with a $sign inside of it. You'll be able to make a small donation to my channel. It's whatever you want it to be. It can be 10 Rand, can be 10,000 Rand. I promise to reply to it. I'll also hit the heart button on your comment. And the reason that I'm asking you to do this is because I would love to do this full time. And to that end, I would also love to go to Australia in 2027 and cover the Rugby World Cup for you from down under with daily coverage. And if you used to work at Eskom and you got a lekker bonus when you left, well, then I'm counting on you to do the right thing. If you're not yet ready to support me in that manner, you can also just crock roll the like button, or you can subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so. Guys, in the next 24 to 48 hours, I anticipate I'm going to hit the 10,000 subscriber mark. If you want to be one of those 10,000 and you're not yet, click on that subscribe button right now. And since you're still here, may I invite you to take a trip down memory lane with me and go and have a look at my retro review of the 1999 Rugby World Cup. Remember the Jannie de Beer show against England and how close we got to winning that Rugby World Cup, as it turns out, but for an Australian defeat in the semi-finals. That's on your screen over here, and if you've already seen it, why not go and have a look at this video I did, an exclusive interview with our captain in the 90s, Gary Teichmann. He reveals all that happened in those days. I'm sure you'll enjoy both of them, and I'll see you next time.